You've seen the thumbnails: sunrise over a courtyard, a saffron robe like a flame that never flickers, a bowl, a smile that says, I have nothing, therefore I have everything. Those 10 minutes of footage are true, and they're a costume. Not because monks are fakes, but because cameras are. They compress 1,000 frictions into one aesthetic: the bell, the breath, the bowl. The rest is cut, visa runs, septic tanks, power bills, donors who think their generosity buys your schedule, abbots who juggle gossip like grenades, novices who haven't slept, scandals smoothed by compassion, silent wars over lineage politics, the spreadsheet that decides if mercy happens before lunch or never. Monastic life is specialization, not magic. It works when 3 conditions hold: shared rule, shared rhythm, shared responsibility. Take any leg away and the monastery turns into a pressure cooker with incense. Rhythm becomes rigidity. Rule becomes loophole. Responsibility becomes vague, which is how harm happens while everyone bows. The public sees stillness. The insiders know time math. We trade romantic freedom for a container that eats spontaneity so attention can grow. It's a good trade until the container cracks. This series isn't monk bashing, it's monk de-romanticizing, so you stop copy-pasting rituals that require infrastructure you don't have, and so you can love real monks as adults, not as projections. We'll tour the parts the lens won't show: sleep debt sold as devotion, obedience that blurs into compliance, noble silence that sometimes hides conflict, the economics of arms, who cooks whom, the influencer monk who becomes an algorithm manager, the politics of purity and who pays the price, the admin hell behind the holy calm the breathtaking good monasteries do when they remember the point, and what breaks when they forget. If you need haloed humans to keep hope alive, skip this. If you want a spirituality that survives Monday, welcome. I'm Silent Flame. The bell will ring in 3, 2, and then we'll walk into the kitchen where serenity meets logistics. A monastery is a factory of attention. Its product is hours arranged to minimize cognitive drag: wake, chant, clean, sit, study, work, eat, mend, meet, sleep. It functions when the whole is predictable. Predictability lowers craving and frees bandwidth. Now the costs. Sleep. The myth is 4 a.m. bells as enlightenment engines. Reality. Some bodies handle it, many don't. Chronic undersleep breeds irritability dressed as insight. The good houses watch for that, rotate duties, allow naps after alms. The bad ones sanctify exhaustion, then blame the novice for snapping. Food. We live on alms sounds pure, until cuisine becomes control. Donors can steer menus, schedules, and sometimes teachings. An abbot with a thin budget learns to smile through strings. Could the sermon mention our family's merit? Could you bless the new shop? The boundary skill here is not taught by nature, it must be trained. Money. Most monks don't touch cash, administrators do. Where money pools, politics pools, building funds, pilgrim housing, guest teacher honoraria. The sin isn't money, it's opacity. Transparency is a spiritual precept when the robe becomes an ATM for everyone's hopes. Power. Obedience is the engine that keeps 40 adults moving like one organism. It's also a vector for abuse. The line between training your ego and breaking your spine is thinner than Instagram suggests. The healthy monasteries publish processes: who investigates complaints, where records live, how lay stewards audit. The unhealthy ones call questions ego and call silence noble. On camera, this compresses into a bowl and a bell. Off camera, it's governance. The miracle isn't that monks are serene. It's that any community survives its chores without lying to itself. When serenity is real, it's not the sunrise. It's the meeting minutes. Noble silence is a medicine until it's a mask. Inside the cloister, silence lowers reactivity, exposes compulsions, and lets nuance reappear. But when conflict heats, silence can also be a weapon. The senior who stays above it while juniors stew, the committee that postpones until hearts settle while harm spreads, the vow that becomes a gag. Silence must be paired with right speech, or it shelters the strongest and confuses the kindest. Obedience has the same double edge. You need it to synchronize dozens of humans through dawn, chores, practice, ritual. You also need appeals, timeouts, and consequences when someone higher pulls rank for comfort instead of care. Healthy houses teach how to obey. Follow the rule. Keep your spine. Escalate safely. Unhealthy houses teach that you obey. Hand over discernment at the door and call it humility. Tell the difference by outcomes. Does silence accelerate repair? Does obedience increase safety? If not, your holy words are costumes. The most dangerous monastery isn't loud, it's quiet, efficient, and incurious. The camera loves it, the soul doesn't. A note to viewers who want to borrow monk moves. Take principles, not performances. Selective silence, yes. Stonewalling, no. Coordinated chores, yes. Personality erasure, no. Bowing, yes. Boundary amnesia, never. If your version of the robe makes you hard to love or easy to use, you copied the aesthetic, not the ethic. Here's a story the lens won't show. The abbot at a desk with a stapler, a stack of visas for foreign novices, tax letters, building permits for a roof that leaks onto the shrine, a donor list, a neighbor complaint about drums, a butcher who hates you, a school that wants volunteers, an inbox that won't die. The robe doesn't cancel bureaucracy, it multiplies it, because once you run a refuge, you inherit everyone's paper. Add rural politics. The monastery is a node where reputations are made and broken. A careless word in a sermon tilts an election. A refusal to bless a business creates enemies. A runaway teen shows up at the gate. A wealthy patron wants a stupa where zoning forbids. Compassion meets compliance law and sometimes bends until it snaps. Add globalization. Monks with channels become content managers. The algorithm loves stillness. It loves scandal more. One misstep and you're PR monk, not meditation coach. Say yes to interviews, lose hours. Say no, lose donors. The robe used to be a shield from the market. Now it's a brand inside it. So when you see 10 quiet minutes on screen, honor them. They were purchased with logistics. A monastery that names this openly, budget, governance, grievance process, digital policy, protects its calm from rotting into performance. A monastery that hides it breeds holy burnout and beautiful lies. The camera loves vows. The body pays invoices. Celibacy looks simple on a thumbnail. Shaved head, soft eyes, the rumor of zero drama. Off-screen, it's engineering, not cosplay. A vow is a container that reroutes energy into service and attention. It is not a magic wand that deletes mammalian wiring. When houses teach this honestly, sleep, diet, labor load, confession, supervision, the vow holds. When they preach pure or bust, shadow bloats. Here's the unromantic mechanics. Libido is not only sex, It is drive. Reduce sleep and calories, add status pressure and constant deference, and libido morphs into control freakery, spiritual comparison, or secret compulsions. Touch deprivation plus no personal friendships can freeze the nervous system. A hug starts to feel like a crime, so longing leaks as power play or piety theatre. Add transference. Lay devotees idealize the robe, project safety, ask for guidance about intimacy. The monk gets chemical praise and a test they were never trained to pass. Cue blurred boundaries labelled compassion. Healthy monasteries assume all of this will happen and build structures, weekly private check-ins with trained seniors, explicit touch and proximity rules, rotation away from spiritual counseling for anyone in a shaky patch, a real reporting channel for misconduct that does not route through the abbot's favourites, fast, documented responses, outside clinicians on call, sleep and food protected like precepts. Unhealthy houses assume it won't happen here and weaponize shame when it does. Celibacy can be luminous. Fewer entanglements, more availability, attention that isn't bargaining for romance. It can also be armoured detachment. I'm above this, used to dodge repair, or a scorn for householders that masks envy. Your test is impact. Does a celibate's presence make mixed rooms safer, clearer, kinder, or tighter, colder, and weird? If the latter, you're not looking at holiness. You're looking at a leak. For lay people tempted to imitate, don't steal the vow, steal the design, reduce overstimulation, clarify boundaries, schedule service, confess fast to appear when you wobble. If your purity makes you brittle or cruel, it's not a virtue, it's a pose. The robe doesn't cure eros. It teaches stewardship. Skip stewardship and the vow becomes a liability strapped to a human who now can't admit they're human. Once the robe meets the feed, serenity enters a metrics pit. Algorithms reward certainty, novelty, and parasocial closeness. Good Dharma demands nuance, repetition, and boundaries. Guess who wins on Tuesday? The Monk-fluencer compresses 10 years of training into 90 seconds, answers trauma with aphorisms, and wakes up to a DM pile of grief crushes and cash offers. The camera says scale, the lineage says slow. If governance is weak, charisma captures the community. Retreats priced for scarcity, access sold as intimacy, inner circles with paywall salvation, red flags, proprietary dharma, my method, my transmission, trademarks around basic practices. Wisdom isn't SaaS, metrics greater than mentorship. Decisions made by view counts, not elders. Syllabus optimized for virality, not development. Quarantined critics. Dissent framed as ego or bad vibes. Comments curated into worship. Opacity. Where donations go. Who sets teacher fees. Who owns the email list. If answers are vibes, you're in a brand, not a sangha. Boundaries. Melt. Late night crisis, calls from fans, selfies as sacraments. I'll be your friend and your teacher. That's a lawsuit disguised as kindness. Green flags, disclosures on money flows and conflicts of interest, caps on teacher income from one community, independent board with removal power, a written ethics policy, public grievance process, teaching calendar with genuine off-camera days, content that admits uncertainty in credit sources, decentralization, rotation of voices, platform used to point at local centers and elders, parasocial energy shunted into peer circles rather than the teacher's DM addiction. Influence isn't evil, it's force. Aim it well, and villages get clinics, shelters, scholarships. Aim it badly, and you get soft cult vibes under a lotus banner. If your favorite monk online can't say, I don't know, that's not my expertise, or here's where to get help offline, you're watching performance, not refuge. The robe can hold a mic. It cannot hold your life. Don't hand it over. Now the praise song, because the good is real. A healthy monastery is choreography, a bell that rescues mornings from drift, chores that teach humility without humiliation, a refectory where silence tastes like kindness, not fear, elders who rotate power and make their decisions legible, juniors who can file a complaint without ending their vocation. You can feel it in the courtyard, laughter that lands softly, arguments that end in brooms and tea, not exile. What they get right? Transparency as precept. Budgets on the bulletin board, building timelines visible, guest teacher contracts clear, gifts logged. Money loses its occult power and becomes fuel. Sleep culture. Yes to dawn bells, no to heroics. Naps are allowed. Night watch rotates. Compassion for bodies is explicit. Study plus service. Sutras in the morning. Hospice or kitchen in the afternoon. Theory metabolized into usefulness. Tension hygiene. Weekly councils name frictions before they ferment. Silence frames speech. It doesn't replace it. Porous walls, locals welcomed without being farmed for transactions. Festivals feed neighbours first. Refugee families sleep in the hall when floods come. Ritual without theatre. Form is tight. Faces are relaxed. If someone cries in Zendo, a hand appears after the bell, not a scowl during. These houses produce humans who are easy to trust. They fix what they break. They say, I was wrong, before being asked. They do boring kindness with no camera. The stillness on screen is an honest surplus, not extracted from someone else's nervous system. You leave thinking less about their holiness and more about your next move at home. That's the tell. True calm sends you back to dishes and neighbours with a lighter jaw and a steadier hand. If you've only met monasteries through viral serenity or viral scandal, know there are many that neither advertise nor combust. They iterate, they sweep, they keep their promises. That's sacred, not the incense, the follow-through. You don't need a robe. You need design. Here's a layperson's kit to steal the monastery's functions without importing its failures, the bell and the ledger. Pick 2 fixed bells daily, start-stop. Tie each to one visible action. Stretch plus 2 minutes tidy. Walk plus 1 message care. Track completion in a dumb ledger. Checkboxes. Predictability beats motivation. Sleep is a precept. Guard a non-negotiable window. If your practice steals sleep, it's a vanity metric. Drowsy compassion is just irritability with beads. Noble silence windows. 2 30-minute blocks per day without media or speech, not as escape, but as reset. End each with a micro repair, apology, email, calendar fix. The service slot. 3 hours per week of boring help for others. Shopping, rides, childcare relief. No selfies. If your spirituality doesn't improve someone else's Tuesday, it's entertainment. Money transparency. Give a percentage to relief you can verify. Publish it yourself. Budget note. Hide nothing from your future self. Conflict protocol. Write a 2-step. A. Cool off window. B. Repair appointment within 48 hours. Silence is not virtue until repair is attempted. Teacher hygiene. If you follow a teacher online, set rules. No late-night DMs, no parasocial debts, no exclusive access purchases. Favor communities with boards and grievance paths. Celibacy lesson for non-celibates. Translate vow to boundaries. Choose one appetitive domain for scrolling, shopping, sugar, and cap it with the public public rule for 30 days. Track mood and kindness, not willpower. The kitchen test. Can your calm survive chores? Practice with tasks. Dishes as breath training. Laundry as meta. Trash as humility drill. If you can only be spiritual on a cushion, it's a costume. Weekly council of 2. Pick a friend. Swap 15-minute audits, wins, harms, plans, confession without theatrics, advice without superiority. Repeat next week, 7-day start plan. Day 1, install 2 bells plus ledger. Day 2, first service hour scheduled. Day 3, silence windows on calendar. Day 4, conflict protocol written, use it once. Day 5, budget note with give percentage. Day 6, boundary experiment begins, 30 days. Day 7, Council of 2, meeting number 1. Measure success by boring metrics. Fewer avoidance spirals, faster repairs. One neighbour better off, sleep intact. If a monk's stillness on your screen doesn't translate into still, steady care in your street, unfollow and get to work. Real Dharma leaves tracks you can sweep, meals you can carry, and calendars that show who you served. The rest is B-roll.